classic is it that when the men found out that the tomb was empty, they went home? I just think that this is great because it says in the text that they trusted, but they didn't understand. They're like, we'll go. But Mary stayed. Men went home, but Mary stayed. Why? She needed something. We stay because we need something. And we know that we need something. And I think maybe the disciples didn't know exactly what they needed. Or maybe they were just ready to wait. But she needed something, and so she stayed. And she stayed at the tomb, and she stayed weeping, and when anyone came by, she was looking for him. And he says this strange thing. He says, "Don't hold on to me. Don't hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended." And this might seem strange that Jesus would say to her, "Don't hold on to me." When here he is in the flesh, and later he's going to show up to the disciples, and Thomas isn't going to be there, and he's going to say, "Well, I'm not going to believe any of this until I get to touch him." And then Jesus comes back, and he says, "There, go for it." And that's a thing that happened. And Thomas needed that, and Jesus showed up to give Thomas that. But I think Jesus knew that that's not what Mary needed in this moment, because he would have done it. He came back for Thomas to let Thomas actually have physical contact with his body, to know I am resurrected. But I'm not sure that's what Mary needed in this moment. I think what Mary needed was she needed to know that you're going to be with me through the rest of this. She knew how much harder this was going to get. You got to remember that they're leading a movement of radical reformation. They're leading a movement of radical change in the world, so radical, in fact, that the authorities are ready to murder Jesus, to silence him for this movement that on its face is just basically about love, generosity, kindness, building a new world out of solidarity with the poor and the marginalized and the dispossessed. And that is very threatening. And she knew if we're going to do this work, this is going to be hard. And I want to know for certain that you're going to be there with me when this gets harder and harder and harder. Because I see all these men who show up at the fancy times, but I was there at the cross, and none of them were to be found. I was there with your mom. I was there with the other women. This was hard. This was brutal. And I'm afraid it's going to get harder, and I need to know you're going to be there with me. Any of y'all ever felt that? Had a thing, and you knew this is the beginning of a hard time. It's going to get harder from here. And you want something to hold on to because you know for a fact it's going to be a minute. And he says, "Don't hold on to me yet. Because if you hold on to me now, it's not going to last. It's not going to endure. But once I ascend, then I will abide with you as I promised, and you will abide with me forever." See, Jesus made this promise that he would abide with us, not that he would stay here in the flesh and lead us and defeat our enemies and be this power on earth. He told us that he would be this power that lives inside of us. That we would be able to trust ourselves and our own strength and endurance because it didn't come from us. It came from God. That's right. That's right. And he said, "Don't hold on to me yet, because you're going to need me so much more than just the space and time that I could be with you here on earth. You're going to need me now, in the days and months to come. Your children are going to need me. Your grandchildren are going to need me. Centuries later, your people are going to need me. If you hold on to me now, You're not going to get the full thing. And sometimes we have to let go of the people that we think are going to hold us up, because there's something else greater that's going to hold us up, that's going to hold on to us. And so she had to let him go. But this is the thing, that he calls her by name. And that's when she knows who he is. And we, every one of us, is called by name. We are known personally and intimately by this God, who is constantly seeking us out, who is constantly desiring to abide with us. And we are in a place now where we can hold on to him. And in fact, we are called to trust in his presence now, today, especially when we can't see it, especially when we don't feel it. I know a lot of people who are predicting that things are going to get harder from here. Things are going to get scarier from here. Things are going to get more difficult for us all from here. And so are we going to clamor and scramble for someone who's going to fix it, who's going to save us, who's going to right all the wrongs of the world? Or are we going to find a way to remember his words and say, I will abide in you and you will abide in me? We'll find a way. We'll find a way. Together, we got a little prophet in our midst. We are called to trust in the presence of God even when we can't see it. Even when we are struggling to know it, we have to trust in it. Jesus doesn't say, believe that this is a fact, believe that this is true. He says, trust in me, and I will abide in you. I will give you the power to endure. I will give you the strength to move through. I will give you the vision of love and compassion and connection that will get you through this time. And not just get you through it, I promise you abundant life. Not just basic and ordinary life. I promise you growth and power and joy, freedom, forgiveness, community. I know a power greater than fear. I know a power greater than despair. I know a power greater than scarcity. I know a power even greater than death. Because I somehow, by the grace of God, have gotten to know the risen Christ. And I promise you that if you work to trust in him, work to see him in the lives and bodies of other people around you, work to let go, thank you, of any thing that you're holding on to that's a crux, a fix, an easy answer. And we can abide through Holy Saturday. And we can see the risen Christ and let him into our life. We will collectively know a power greater. Because the resurrection means that we didn't just have Jesus once for a short time, we have him forever. And so I encourage you to find a way to grow in your trust, not in your knowledge, not in your certainty. Grow in your trust, because it is your trust